pussy in no face with style and grace. A wreck where he direct got flair and taste. Holds no drop crowd when he in the mix. In a throwback jersey and custom kicks.
I guess we should introduce you, huh? You're the nerd hooker, as we titled you last time you and I talked on the phone.
Yes.
So introduce yourself, nerd hooker.
Hey everybody, my name is Roberto. I do toy photography, miniature work, whatever I feel like doing that day. You can follow me on Reverend Roberto Art on Instagram, the Lab Winchester on Facebook, and if you Google anything like even related to that, you can find me pretty much anywhere. Well, I just turned 50. I live in Virginia. I've got a job where I take care of an elderly man. I'm just a nurse full time, and he's had cancer 4 times. He's got a stroke. He's pretty much had really bad luck, but his family kind of bailed on him, so I took over and I opened up my own studio because he's on a schedule, and I don't have to stand next to him all the time and do anything like that, but. It did offer me a chance to get back into my artwork, which is kind of cool. And then, so I've been doing paintings, photography, video, miniature work, doing diorama and stuff like that. Basically, I've just tried to not limit myself to anything, And it's been really, I've been really successful, which is crazy because. Virginia is a really staunch, conservative state, and then the town I live in is basically the same. The only saving grace is that most of the kids who grew up here are now adults and are moving back, and they're trying to open up galleries and breweries and stuff like that. So it's a little more hipster now. So I've been pretty successful. I mean, considering the fact that. Most of the people that I know that went to school for art and stuff like that aren't even doing that. So I don't know. It's turned out to kind of be a blessing in disguise. You know what I mean?
No, that's actually a really good point because most of the classmates of mine that I went to film school with are not actually doing film. They're doing anything but film. So when people are like, "Hey, so you have this bachelor's degree in cinematography and you're in porn." And I'm like, yeah, but at least I'm still creating and holding a camera and editing and lighting and trying to do some cool artsy shit. Most of my classmates are selling surfboards or, just being family people and having a regular job with this giant loan to pay back. Screw that.
That doesn't suit me. Honestly.
No.
But even before that, I would snatch moments from, I have a family, so it was kind of hard, but we lived in a small place, and I would set up my stuff, but I had to, break it all down. And now, I have the luxury of I have 7 projects going on at once, and they're all spread out, and I don't have to put them away. Everybody has their own room, so because we ended up moving in with my brother-in-law, the guy that I'm taking care of, because his mother died. He was like, "Well, I'm buying the house, so you're already taking care of me. You might as well just move in." What I didn't know is that they were selling our townhouse.
Oh.
But that's a whole nother story.
So
his family sucks.
yeah, well, so art, you got a lot of projects going on, and the reason I wanted to have you on the podcast is I want you to talk about the cool art that you do. I would look at your stuff for a while on Instagram, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna follow this guy and just look at his shit more, and it's pretty amazing what you do. Can you talk a lot about it because it's really badass?
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I guess there's so many sections because I don't do one thing, but I'm doing toy photography. I'm doing the miniature work. I'm doing these the Hot Wheels car photography. That actually, you want to hear the whole story about that was that I actually started taking photos of the cars because I wanted to see how real I could make them look. And then that opened up another nerd niche because apparently customizing these little cars is a thing, and I didn't even know about it. So I started following a couple dudes, and I talked to them. I was really friendly with them, and they're really friendly. You know, they're not so secretive and guarded, you know, like other, you know, smaller communities, but they're super nice and welcoming, and they gave me a few tips, and then my photos, because of that, my photos got better, which is weird, right? I started off with an iPhone, and then I upgraded to a Nikon, and then but I would take photos with both, and then somebody was like, "Oh, this is the one thing I didn't like, is that people are always like, you know, phone photography is not photography," and that just pissed me off beyond belief. You know what I mean? Because I would tell people, I'm like, "Look, man, let's do the Pepsi challenge." I don't know if anybody remembers what that is because I'm old, but you tell me the difference between what I shot on the Nikon and what I shot with the iPhone, and nobody could pick up the difference. So, you know, fuck them. And fuck the haters. So that just got me into it more. And then, you know, I have a vast, extensive collection of toys and started taking photos of those. And that's another niche. Those are nerds, not me, just them. That's what I always say. But I'm a nerd hooker, so I can't
right,
say shit.
Nerd hooker.
But that's another thing too. And then you know, I'll do a painting in between. Some like lately I've just been doing this like. They almost look. It was like this signal in my head, and I just started writing it down, and it's like this complicated symbols that I was doing, and I didn't even know what it was. But in a month, I probably did about 80 drawings in 1 month of this code. It's the strangest thing ever, and I did like a bunch of large paintings, and then one day I woke up and then I didn't hear it in my head anymore. So that was weird.
Yeah, you know, I think you might have had like some aliens tell you some shit, man. Maybe you like did a whole like blueprint to how the movie Contact, they made like that that fucking ship that you could travel to another dimension.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about that? Maybe you should put them all together like in a 3D model and see where it takes you. You never know.
You know what? I never even remembered that. That is so funny, man. That is hilarious.
I just watched that movie again. I love that movie. So,
God, you know, the book, you know, they could never make a real movie about the book because the signal in the book, it takes 10 years, over the span of like 10 years. Like that. And, yeah, the book is awesome, dude. If you've never read any Carl Sagan, you should. He's the original sci-fi guy, or the guy that got me into sci-fi. Between his writings about the cosmos and Ray Bradbury's science fiction. Yeah, it's just my brother-in-law watches westerns. You realize how much I hated westerns. But he watched them 24 hours a day, and I'm just like, this is so stupid.
You know, it's funny you say that because now with this quarantine, I'm still healing my leg, so I'm staying with my parents, and my dad loves westerns, and literally that's all he watches. I'll limp downstairs to get food, and there's Bonanza, there's Big Valley, there's John Wayne, and whoever else. I'm like, are you kidding me? And he's seen probably every single one of these movies and TV shows, and just keeps watching it. And I'm upstairs, and he's got the TV loud, so I'm like, I could hear fucking, you know, Michael Landon, you know, and Big Hoss talking all day. Man.
And their shows are terrible. The plot holes are just unimaginable.
I know, man.
It's just, they beat woman's ass every episode. They suppress a fucking minority. You know what I mean? And then they just talk with a goddamn accent that I can't stand.
Well, you know, the best and the worst part of these movies is that, especially the movies, all those cowboys are clean. How the fuck do they have white teeth? How do they have no dust on them? These motherfuckers live in a dust storm, and they walk in from the desert, and they're like pristine, and you're just like, these what? But no, I'm sorry. The white cowboys are clean, and then when they go to the Mexican dudes, they're like, we don't need no stinking badges, we don't need soap either, and they're like filthy. You're like, what the fuck?
They're
There's like
filthy.
Right?
Yeah.
Like Mexicans like attract dirt and white people don't? I don't understand what the fuck's going on with these movies.
Yeah, so you see my problem with Western.
Right. It's also like the Chinese guy's always the cook. Maybe that's how it was back then.
Yeah.
And then like the Mexican dude's always got that accent, man. Yeah. It's just like, God.
I said something about it online, and people just attacked me because I was like, 24-hour Western channel. Okay, boomer, it sucks, and then it was like, oh my God, you're like part of the cancel culture and this and that and all this bullshit. I had to go look it up because I didn't even know what the fuck they were talking about.
I think the problem is a lot of people can't step back and put themselves in other people's shoes, in other cultures' shoes. So they're so stuck in the way they think, they can't think outside. They just get offended and they get like, no, you can't be talking. No, like step back and actually see why that person feels that way. That's why to me it's always been about like, don't argue, just communicate. Even if you hate what the other person's saying, listen to them and understand where they're coming from. Whether they're right or wrong, it doesn't even matter. But it's just one of those things that if you communicate, you might learn something from the other person, but people won't. And like you're saying, like the Westerns, man, they're all stereotypes. And then half the time, the Native Americans, they're not Indian. The Native Americans, half the time, Native Americans are just like white actors painted brown.
Yeah,
what is that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
my God,
it's insane.
Like, and the Spanish is just awful. I'm like a perfectionist. I want to talk proper Spanish in movies, and like, okay, so. Don't get me wrong, but like every movie you cannot put Danny Trejo in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's true.
All right, and then at least let him speak Spanish. Don't try to put words in his mouth. You know what I mean? It's just awful, man. It's just awful.
It's funny.
I always complain about that.
I just watched a new interview with Carlos Mencia. And it's pretty amazing, awesome. Man. Because they mostly talked about when he was caught stealing jokes and things like that, and how it all turned into this big mess, and the whole thing with him and Joe Rogan. And it was fun to watch because he was so defensive still, and the guy interviewing him was like, it's a pretty cool YouTube channel. It's called, I forget what it's called, but it's really good interview. And the guy keeps asking him, did you steal jokes? And Carlos Mencia would never admit to it. He just kept saying, well, like all of us, we just created and we were giving homage to other comedians. They're just like, dude, just fucking say it and everybody will move on. But he wouldn't say it. And I was like, after watching like 35 minutes, I'm like, I'm done, because it's just going to be the same cycle of like, the guy asks him the question, he gives him a 5-minute answer, and it's not a yes or a no. He's just like, eh. But I thought he was funny back then. But then when I started seeing like all these comedians coming out against him, and the fact that like he's like half German and his name is Ned, and then he went by Carlos, and it was just like a whole the whole mess. It was like, oh man, but it was entertaining. It was definitely entertaining. But what he did was he just went with the stereotype and he ran with it, and it worked for him until like comedians started calling his ass.
Got caught.
Yeah, he got completely. Man, he had like Mind of Mencia was amazing, but then like it all went away, and I didn't realize it's been like almost 15 years, because he said like it's been like almost 15 years since this happened. Like, holy shit, time flies, man. But so I guess he's trying to come back, or maybe he's back. I have no idea. And this interview was pretty interesting.
The OG is George Lopez and what's his name? Paul Rodriguez.
Paul Rodriguez, yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah, they're the OGs. I mean, they've been around forever, and they cut their teeth, when there was like no Hispanics in comedy.
Yeah, 100%. George Lopez is hilarious. Like, I remember watching his TV show, and man, that chick that played his wife, are you kidding me? You could just literally turn off the audio and just like... just, I gotta tell you something funny. When we were doing our...
What are you doing in there? Nothing, I'm clapping.
That's right, exactly. This is a great show, man. Just leave me alone.
Clapping.
Standing ovation. When we were finished, when we were in the editing process of this movie we did called Y2K, we would edit at nights and on weekends. So because that's the only time we had access to the edit bay, and we would put on the big screen action movies on Telemundo, like really bad action movies. And we couldn't speak Spanish. We didn't need to. We just turned down the audio and just watched like the train wreck that was like their Western. And it was so amazing. And then we went and we shot our own version of it, just because like we needed to do a lighting and camera test. So we're like, fuck it, let's just do like a Telemundo version of what we're doing here. And it was literally like, if you run out of frame, you disappear, because the person that comes in the frame can't find you anymore because you're out of frame of the television. It's like the best.
Oh yeah, you're gone.
Yeah, once you step out of frame, you are in a whole different city. Nobody knows where you're at. There was like the one shot that was like so amazing. It was like one shot of these two bad guys walking towards camera, right? And the camera slowly zooming out with them, slowly, and they're walking from far away, and then they get really close. They stop, and they're standing under a tree with like a branch, and on the branch is sitting the good guy, hiding from them. And I'm like, they walked from like a mile away. They saw the tree. How did they not see him? I'm confused. What just fucking happened? Where like they walk up, and now all of a sudden now he's right there, and they're like, oh shit, he's in the branch on the branch. You saw the tree when it was like tiny because it was far away, and you didn't see him on that branch until you got into the shot, and now he's in frame. What? I'm so confused. What's going on here?
I mean, you gotta admit though. I mean, you're making a copy of a copy of a copy, and you know the quality's gonna get worse and worse and worse. Bollywood movies, Bollywood westerns are absolutely batshit crazy.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
I don't know if you've ever watched their movies. Netflix has a gigantic selection of Bollywood movies now, and I like watching the tough guy, the cop one, and the superhero one. Mm-hmm. And then, but one night I caught a western, and it was just wow.
Were they all singing? Wow, were they all singing at one point?
yeah, there was a musical number. I do know, yeah.
Yeah, that's Bollywood. Every movie needs to have a couple of. It's
right up there was a full-on musical number between the show.
It's like Rocky. If you're not having a montage in the Rocky movie, it's not a Rocky movie. You need to have at least one or two montages. Rocky 4 with Drago, when they're both training at the same time. One, I love that fucking song.
Yeah.
I love that song, and when I listen to it, I know that whole montage by heart. I know when Rocky's carrying the log on his shoulders through the snow. I know when Drago's getting stabbed with the steroids, because all the Russians take steroids, Americans don't. Americans are hard workers, and then Rocky's doing those amazing setups like fucking Sylvester Stallone, and then what's his name is running. Drago's running and punching everything. I'm like, I remember that montage by heart because it was so fucking cool. I remember seeing the movie in the theater, and I was like cheering for Rocky, but I'm going, what am I doing? Like, I'm Russian. I should be cheering for the Russian, because the Russian's just trying to do his job. Like, they're like, we killed your family and you should kill him. And he's like, okay, exactly. I killed him. I killed the black guy. I won't kill the white guy. And he couldn't kill the white guy because the white guy is stronger, obviously, for some reason.
Hands down, my favorite montage has got to be the montage in Scarface with that song, the Take It to the Limit song.
Oh, right, yeah.
Take it to the limit. Slow waiting on the racer's edge. It's just like, and then the tiger and the money and the money machine and the drugs, and then him buying stuff, and that was such a wholesome imagery.
That I think that's the kind of montage that glorified it so much. There's so many people that wanted to become drug dealers and wound up getting killed or going to jail because how many criminals or drug dealers retire, right?
But you remember that show Crib? TV
oh
Crib?
Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
Every house they would go to, this is my copy of Scarface. Like everybody, I'm just like, show me some books.
You want to hear
Does anybody own books? Show me a bookshelf.
Well, no. Let me tell you something about those houses. Okay, you want to hear something crazy about those houses? Here's a little fucking revelation for you. There's at least 3 houses that there were on MTV Cribs that I shot porn in.
No way.
Yep. And here's the crazy thing: is one was actually owned by a celebrity. 2 others were bullshit. Like what happened was MTV would like hire or rent out this house. They would bring in their art department and they would like dress it up for these celebrities, because some of these celebrities didn't have that kind of money to be ballers like that in Hollywood, and to live in Hollywood is fucking expensive. So they would just rent these houses and then they would walk around. Like, for instance, there's this one house that we shot it. First of all, it's funny because I grew up on Beverly Hills 90210, and they've been showing like reruns of it to a point I'm healing, 2, quarantine, so you're kind of sitting around watching TV, and I was watching a lot of that. What?
And then you don't got to explain it to me, man. I know.
The quarantine, the quarantine of 2020 that went through 2022. That's going to be like in 2023. That's going to be the story. And I'm watching the first episode of 90210, where fucking little Brian Austin Green David drives drunk Steve in his Porsche to Steve's house, and I'm looking at him going, oh my God, I've probably shot 300 to 400 porn scenes in this house. What?
Oh
Okay.
my God.
And I was like, holy, that's amazing. But the funny thing is, that same house, I was watching. I'm not gonna say which pawn show, but it was a pawn show where they go to this guy's house who's supposed to be this Hollywood producer, and he's selling his like jukebox. And I'm watching this. I'm like going, wait a minute, that's not his house. And the jukebox wouldn't be in the middle of a living room like that. Like it was a house that I've shot a ton of scenes in, and I'm just like, that dude doesn't own that house. I'm like, that dude probably lives in a fucking apartment in Hollywood, and they made it look like he lives in like Beverly Hills mansion when that house is not even in Beverly Hills. It's in the Valley, and but you know it's all entertainment. It's all bullshit. So it's funny to watch the shows like MTV Cribs and like the pawn show. And just to see, like, I'm like, I hope they don't sit on that couch because I know it's been on that couch. You know, just shit like that. You know, like I've shot in a location house where it's also rented out for like family vacations and for weddings. And it's fucking insane. And then one time we're like shooting, you know, like a couple of girls walk around naked around the house, and I look, and outside there's like these older people walking around. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here, right? And this house is like pretty secluded. Like you have to like drive up and through a driveway and through a gate. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, hey, girls, get away from the fucking window. And it winds up that house is being rented for a wedding the following day. And the parents came early. They showed up early, and like a couple hours early to the house to check out the house for the next day wedding.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, oh man. So like, if you live in Hollywood, especially in the Valley, or you're renting houses in the Valley, man, do your homework before you rent it, and or your husband or your like son is going to be like sitting on the couch going, wait a minute, this couch and this living room looks familiar. These two plants behind the couch, they look very familiar, you know. So if you walk into a house that you're renting for Airbnb or for whatever else in the LA area, especially the Valley, and it looks like a set of a porn movie, it probably is.
It probably was. Yeah.
That's
That's like you walk in with one of those fucking black lights.
Oh,
and that shit will probably light up like to the moon. But.
No, man, that's exactly. Okay, enough about talking about gross porno stuff on couches. Talk about the car stuff that you do, because it's so cool. Like, I'm amazed that the cars are so tiny. And you said you just turned 50, right? So you turned 50.
Yeah.
How the fuck is your hand steady enough to paint those cars and your eyes good enough to see that car? Because those things are so tiny. And the detail on them, do you have to wear like special those magnifying glasses to like do that shit, or how do you pull this off?
I mean, it's you know, I've always painted, and I always thought that you know, having a steady hand is, you know, oh yeah, I'm this, I'm that. But when I started doing this, man, my hands are really shaky now. I can tell you that, because it's really like, it's intense, you know, and you have to be. I wear those magnifying glasses, the ones that you put. I have glasses, but then I have to wear magnifying glasses on top of that, and then just kind of like brace my hands on the table to maintain, like, to do like a straight line. Forget it, man. I have to do it at least 3 or 4 times before I actually do it on the car, you know. Mm-hmm. Because it was just, you could see it. Because once you take the photo, that's another thing too. I take a lot of photos in between so that I could see the errors.
Gotcha.
Because, you know, if you're staring at something for like 4 or 5 hours, it's you know, you're gonna have mistakes. And then but if you take a photo, it's almost like it's an unadulterated eye, a view of it. You know, so you take the photo and then you go back and you're like, okay, that thing's messed up. All right, and then you fix it. And you take a photo and you go back and you look at it, and then, okay, I missed the tail light, or I missed the turn signal, or something like that. And then lately I've been making the license plate, like with an actual, you know, I got a printer and stuff like that, so I started doing that. But before I used to just cannibalize like stickers from, like whenever you have like a sticker pack, there's always like this little writing in the corner. I used to use that. I could just cut that out and put them as a license plate and stuff. And then I've been making my own tires too, with like rubber tubing and.
Jeez.
But yeah, it's super hard, man. I have to customize brushes. Like, I'll go and buy brushes and then I'll have to cut them with a razor and kind of like make them even smaller. So there's only like, instead of, like a brush has like 100 or 200 hairs on it, I'll cut it down so that there's maybe like 50, and then just a couple shots of whiskey, and then I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm ready.
Wait, does the whiskey help you get to steady your hand, or?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I'm not like DP, like delirious and not shaking like that, but it takes the edge off a little bit. As I'm looking at a mountain of empty bottles here, because I haven't cleaned up in a couple months, but I nobody comes down here except me, so. But I've been making like altering tires. Some of them I've been actually like cutting springs and making shocks, like working shocks. All kinds of crazy stuff. I bought these little like railroad people and put them inside. That's another thing too, man. Is that I'll put little people inside and then I'll paint my face with glasses and like a Adidas tracksuit. And that's kind of like, you know what I mean? Because it's like these guys are awesome.
Yeah.
All these other guys, and so that's what I bring to the table. It's some sort of levity, but when I started putting the people inside the cars, it made it look even more realistic. In fact, I've had people like, "Oh yeah, your car is nice," and I'm like, "That's not a real car." Oh my God, no way! And then I'll send them like a DM with like a photo of it in my hand.
Yeah, you see, that's what like really like popped in my head. Like every time I would see your work, I'm just like, it's fucking amazing, because it's like when you see the perspective of like how small it is, and like because the Hot Wheels cars are tiny, and it just but I guess it's one of those things where when you love something so much, it's not work, so you could take like hours upon hours and days upon days to do something cool, and then you have the result that you have. But you're like pumping them out, because like I'm constantly seeing more and more posts, and not only cars, like you built like sets and little streets.
I built sets for the toys. Yep.
So like your whole basement is basically looks like a little city.
Yeah, it does. And then I've got a couple tables set out where the work is just piled up. Here's the thing though, man. It's just like I never thought of selling them per se, because they're kind of like my people, and they're like my children. And but people have been calling, hey, how much, blah blah blah, and then I'll shoot them a price, and then silence. They ghost me, because look, as a rule of thumb, I like to pay myself $25 an hour if I'm doing anything artistic. That's just how it is. Now imagine one of these little cars. I have over like 25 hours into one of them. I can't charge people $500 or something like that.
Right. So
I'll throw them give me $100 or give me 75, and that's still too much money, they say.
Really? Like honestly, I thought your cars were like at least a couple $100, because I was like, man, I want to get one done by him, but I'm like, I can't afford a couple $100. I have to like fix a leg. Can you fix my leg?
Some of them I've actually put like my friend Nick. He makes these he micro solders boards and stuff like that, and I've actually put lights in some of them. Some of them have sound. There's like a speaker in there. They have rechargeable batteries. You can send him a sample, and he'll put it on the chip for you. So once you push on the glass and it activates the light, an engine sound will come out, or a siren. Or
what?
I made one that if you push on the glass, the light comes on, and then they shut off, and then a big long fart comes out.
Okay.
So I mean,
I'm gonna have a project for you. Once I start doing Carjackers 2, I'm gonna need a freaking car for Carjackers because I want to do some kind of a weird thing where it's like driving, like a tiny little car, but then I'm gonna shoot inserts inside with green screen. I think it'll be, and this is what I thought about when I started seeing your stuff. I was like, man, I need to do like maybe like some kind of a chase scene, or maybe just like one car, because like I have these characters called the Cluster, and it's a bunch of fat guys in orange ski masks, and I always wanted to have like an orange car for them to drive in. And I actually I found a really cool orange car at a fucking gas station. This dude had it was like an old sports car, but it was orange, and I'm like, oh man, I want to use his car. So I gave him my business card. I said, look, I direct porn. I'm not going to shoot sex in your car. I just need it for a couple of inserts. And he didn't get back to me for months. And he gets back to me and goes, hey, I would love for you to use my car. I'm like, I finished the movie already. So I didn't use this car. But I think like if we could come up with like a cool like scenario, or maybe even for hole hunters, you could do like some kind of I think that might be even, we could do a whole bunch of projects. But yeah, I think that'll be really cool to do either carjackers or hole hunters, because hole hunters don't have a car that they travel in. So this way, we could do like some kind of a van or something for hole hunters. I think.
Did you see that last build I did? The little Civic with the surfboard on top. Did you notice what was on the front license plate?
No.
I got a buddy of mine shrink a couple logos down. One of them, the logo on the front it's on the front license plate. It says Pornhub. It's the logo.
Oh. You know something? You should probably reach out to them, because they might actually want some stuff done, just because they do so much promo shit anyways, that
right.
You could probably get them to get, like order some custom little cars from you, because that, it's like, who knows, man, maybe they'll like stick it up a girl's vagina or something. That'd be kind of interesting. Hey, trust me, I've thought about that. I thought last night I was talking to one of the girls who's doing because I got this series of scenes I'm doing called Quarantined and Horny. So we're paying girls to do solos at home and send them to me. So I was talking to the girl last night, and she's using her GoPro, and she was going to do a bunch of squirting and stuff. So I'm like, stick that thing in your vagina. And she's like, what do you mean? I go, take the camera, stick it up your pussy. And she's like, won't it damage the camera? I'm like, no, it's waterproof. She goes, really? I'm like, yeah. Then she texts me. She goes, oh my God, I almost burned my vagina off, because the problem with fucking GoPros, they get hot. So she grabbed it and she stuck it into cooch.
Yo,
and it was a little warm.
How do you explain that in the emergency room?
Yeah, right. Hey, right? Well, she doesn't live in LA, but in LA it's a common thing, You show up like, excuse me, I sat on 3 Hot Wheel cars. What? Wait, you probably did. Did you jerk off to when Steve-O stuck that, or whoever was stuck the Hot Wheels car in his butthole and then went to get an x-ray? You ever see that episode of Jackass?
Oh, shit, that was on Jackass.
Yeah. Was it the movie? I watched all those, so they all get kind of mixed up in my head, like it was a movie, it was a
TV
show.
Yeah. Oh, my God, that doctor was just like, I don't know what this is, but it looks like you have a little car in your butt. Spanish guy.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Spanish guy. He's like, no, pero, and he tells the nurse, no, pero tiene el carro en el culo este chico, She's like, he tells the nurse, he's like, I don't know what happened. This guy has a car up his ass.
Oh my God. I actually, my kitchen here in LA used to be all Legos. Like the whole kitchen counter, I had no dishes. It was all space Legos. And then I finally got a girlfriend, and I had to actually make room for some fucking kitchen bullshit. So I got rid of the space Legos. But one of my cupboards is all Western Lego. So it's like you open it up and there's like a bunch of cowboys shooting at each other, and banditos and fucking ski masks.
That is cool.
So I got that. But my love for stuff like that and Legos came in film school. In film school, man, it was so weird. We had to do a project where we do animation. So my filmmaking partners, I'm fucking weird. I was weird, almost from the beginning. And so I'm always pushing my stupid ideas on my filmmaking partners. So I pushed this idea on them, and they were like, okay, cool. We'll do it. So what we did was we turned my little room. I was renting someone's garage as my living room, as my house to live in. So we turned my whole 10 by 10, whatever it was, 12 by 12 garage, I guess it was a little bigger because it was a garage, into basically what your basement probably looks like. We had one of those giant 10-foot long
banquet
tables, those brown tables. And we made a whole city out of, not cardboard, but that artboard. So we made a street, we made buildings, and we recreated the LA riots with Legos.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I fucking went and found an orange semi-truck, just like when Reginald Denny got almost killed by
he got jacked.
Yeah, got hit with a brick, and they shot at him, but they didn't they missed because they're idiots. So we created that. Like I had a Lego guy with a football rather than a brick because that was the guy, that piece of shit that threw the brick at him. His name was Football Williams. That was like his name. So it was in the news. So I had this little Lego guy with a football throwing it at another Lego guy and hitting him in the face with it. We had like blood.
Yeah,
We did all this stuff. And then to top it off, because again, it's me, I wanted to do, we used the song Pretty Young Thing, the Michael Jackson song. And what we did, we took Data action figure from Star Trek and we painted him to look like Michael Jackson. And then we took little like toys of like babies and little boys, and we put it around him, and we played. This was all animation. We shot a fucking animation on 16 millimeter with a Bolex camera, and frame by frame. And it's Michael Jackson dancing in front of little boys to Pretty Young Thing. So, so we turned this.
I can't believe you got those guys to do it with you. Like,
oh yeah, they were totally in. Like Colleen, my partner, she's actually one of the people that came to visit me in the hospital. Amazing editor. She was fantastic. And my partner Kareem, him and I were partners through the whole time in film school. We did our portfolio project together, and he's kind of like same mentality as me. And we were called Black Russian Films. He was the Black, and I was the Russian in Black Russian Films. And so we had like our portfolio film was an homage to Boys in the Hood and Men's Society. So we had like that similar upbringing. Well, he's black, so he had like, his upbringing was like he had to deal with a lot more shit than I did. But we kind of grew up liking the same things, same music, same movies, things like that. So he was totally into it, and especially the whole recreating the riots and doing the Michael Jackson thing, completely into it. But the funniest thing is, we had to show it in front of the we had to edit on film, so we were editing on the flatbed. So it's like you put like the reel, and then you like wind it, trim the frame, tape the next frame that you need, and so on. So it's a long process to edit on film. So everybody's done with the project, and then it was the day to show off the the project to the class and to the teacher. So everybody sits at their flatbed with the project. So you have the one reel with the film, and you have the other reel with a Mac tape where the soundtrack's on. And this is the day the owner of the school decides to show up and see what the film students are doing.
Oh, wow.
Mr. Brooks, Ernest Brooks, this famous freaking photographer who created the school, right? And so Kareem and I were like, oh, shit, man, this is going to be really fucking embarrassing. And we play it. And there you go. There's Reginald Denny getting his ass whooped. And the funny thing is the buildings we made are so inappropriate. There was one called James Worthy's whorehouse, because that was around the time when James Worthy, the Laker player, got caught in a whorehouse in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
And so he got busted for that. So we're like, we got to put James Worthy's whorehouse in there. We were busted in there. James Worthy got a little bit of it. Reginald Denny got a little bit of it. Fucking Michael Jackson got a lot of it. We did so much dumb shit. And this owner of the school is sitting there watching this. We're like, all right, well, fuck it. It's our project. We can do whatever the fuck we want. So like when I see you do it, and you doing it on such a high level where we were just like hacks, just trying to do something stupid to like offend people, you're actually doing something that's so badass. And you said you sell some of these cars, right? Or at least you put a price on them. Have like any like famous people or anybody that's like worth mentioning, or maybe you can't mention them, have like been customers of yours?
Well, I mean, I had this guy. His name is Chris. I can't remember his last name. He's an artist. He lives in Ohio, but he frequents California a lot. And he messaged me because I really like his artwork, and I wanted to shrink some of it down and use it for like artwork on some of the cars that I have, especially this one van I was going to build. And we started chatting, and he started following me, and he's like, listen, man, he's like, my girlfriend's dad, I want to get him something cool, and, I want to see if maybe you can get a little homie and put it with it. And I said, who's your girlfriend's dad? And he was like, Danny Trejo. Oh. And I was like, you want me to make a car for Danny Trejo? He's like, yeah, it'd be a trip, and I'm, if you can get a homie and like paint the chara tattoo on his chest and, put it with the car and like make a little scene. I was like, say no more. So, he sent me a couple photos because apparently Danny Trejo's like a big car guy. So he's got a bunch of like classics in his garage, but his favorite is like this Warlock, this truck and I actually had one too. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll donate it. Sure, why not? And we chatted and I was getting excited about the project, and then I didn't hear anything. So I texted him, and he never texted me back, and then so it kind of fell through. But that would have been like pretty notable, I think.
Yeah, maybe they broke up, and then he was just kind of like all heartbroken.
Maybe. I mean, he didn't live in California, so I don't know if she was living in Ohio with him, or I don't know the specifics. I don't know. I was just like, how the hell did you even meet her? And he's like, no, we were at a party one time, blah blah blah, etc. One of those stories. And then nothing. I guess he had been in LA for such a long time that actually got serious. And then he went back to. I saw that he had gone back to Ohio, and he was still painting and shit like that. But he's an artist, so he's got all these shows everywhere. I'm sure he probably pops in and pops out from seeing her. But he hasn't posted in a while either. So that's maybe he's going through some problems or shit like that, or I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
that's pretty much the closest I've ever been to famous people as far as what I'm doing.
What you need to do is you finish that car, you send it over here. Trejo's Donuts is 2 blocks from my house. I'll walk over to that bitch and be like, yo, motherfuckers, this is for Danny. Hook it up, and they'll probably steal it, but yeah, there you go. And then Trejo's Tacos is like a couple of miles from my house, so you never know. Maybe Danny Trejo will be there one day, like serving donuts and shit, and I'll walk in. I'm like, hey, Danny, what's up? Probably.
That's amazing.
I doubt it, but he's probably too busy rescuing dogs because he's like a big animal rights activist guy. So
I don't know, man. That guy never stops working. Like he's in like every fucking movie.
I know. Like the guy doesn't discriminate. Oh, that shitty script. Got it. That good one. Got it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
No problem.
He's like the Latino version of Samuel Jackson. He just does whatever.
He'll take any role.
What Chupacabra on planes? I got it.
Oh shit! That's a cool idea, man. What?
Shh! We gotta write the script before I put this podcast out.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing. Right. I would say, I'm so tired of all these chupacabras on this goddamn plane.
That'd be so. And we have to use like Cheech Marin, right? Because he's the pilot.
Oh yeah. He's looking rough. Have you seen him lately, man? He's looking rough.
After years of doing everything that he's done, it's got up to that. I grew up on Cheech and Chong, man. Like I even liked Corsican Brothers. It was like the only rated PG movie that they had, which is stupid for Cheech and Chong. But even that was funny. But those guys, and the fact is, like Tommy Chong wasn't like growing up. I thought it was like Tommy Chong was just like a light skinned Mexican dude, and then I'm like when I go, I'm like, why? No, he's just a white guy.
He's a white guy.
Yeah, he's just a white guy. He's like super crazy stoner white guy who just got like fucked by the government.
Yeah, that's right. He got popped for like what, taxes or something like that.
I think they're like selling bongs over the internet, selling bongs and like mailing them out. It was something like that. They're stupid.
Oh,
they're so dumb.
Yeah. That's crossing state lines.
Yeah, exactly. That's what my old boss went to prison for. Selling porn across state lines. Boom, gotcha. So stupid. But So the thing is, like, when I look at your work, what amazes me is you're just not like, man. There's so many people that just like they have no idea about lighting or lenses or photography, and they were just like, here, let's just turn on the lights or open the window and just here we go, we're lit. But your stuff looks really fucking cool, like with the depth of field. Sometimes you play with the depth of field where like it literally looks like an actual picture. Sometimes that's what like got me so like interested in your stuff. I'm like, that looks real. Like if you just look at it, you're like, that's a real picture. Then you have to like look really close and like, that's a miniature. Because like you did something I saw recently, something with snow, right? Was there something like in the snow that you did?
Yeah, that was that 4-wheeler that I built.
So
and then we had got snow that the day before, but I wasn't finished, so I painted it that morning. Did some decals and I took it out and I took a photo with it. I took a selfie ring light with me.
Mm-hmm.
and then bounce that off the snow, and it really looked good. I was very happy with that one. That was fantastic. No, man, the lighting. I think the lighting concepts are probably my favorite part of the photos, because if you saw the stuff that I had, it's laughable what I used. Like I said, I have like a selfie light. I have these lights that I got from like a discount store, kind of like a Walmart, not a Walmart, like low end, like Dollar General. But you can actually turn the light up and down, like it has a dial on it. I have like finger lights, those LEDs that like the Raver kids use. Book light, LEDs. The light that you use to clip onto your back pocket when you're walking at night or when you're biking.
Mm-hmm.
I've used it's actually pretty embarrassing, the stuff that I've used, but I mean, you got to use what you got. It's not the whole craft that I'm doing is just, it's all do it yourself. It's not
right.
I can't afford a LumiCube. LumiCube is like what, $85 a LumiCube. I would love one. I would love two, but I can't afford it. So I went to, like I said, one of those discount stores, and I found two of those lights that you dial up. Basically, you can, and they're super cold, like the degree of it is super cold and white, or like stark.
Yeah.
That but if I want to use like a warmer light, I'll put some tissue over a table lamp that I have, and then it'll give it that warm glow kind of thing.
Right.
I just did a shot where I built a fence out in the desert, like Trump's wall kind of thing, and I poured some sand on there, and I had this little car. That's with a table lamp with a piece of tissue over it that kind of diffuses, and then I just stopped it down really, really like 13 maybe, at 15, something like that. But that that new camera is amazing. That's another thing too. Is that lately, like, I feel like I jumped forward, because I upgraded my equipment, and I'm kind of taking it a little bit more serious. Whereas before, I was just kind of iPhone, and then had that other D50, which was good, man. I was a workhorse. Don't get me wrong, but this new camera is just amazing.
That's the thing, is like when you work with equipment that you can only afford, which is like inferior equipment to what bigger productions use, that teaches you how to get creative with what you have. So when you actually find something, like when you like now you got a camera that shoots pretty high speed, right? Like you said, it was like you and I talked about this before, like ISO 24,000 or something.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It's retarded. I'm like, I don't even know what to do with that shit.
Yeah, so it's like, so when you have a camera that has so much latitude, now you're like, oh, wait a minute, I could actually light with because the problem is when you have a camera and a lens that aren't fast enough, and you're lighting with these little lights, those lights don't put out a lot of power. So you're shooting,
too much sometimes.
You're like the ones are very grainy, or like you can't even get enough exposure out of it. So when you have a camera that you could literally shoot at candlelight, it helps so much, because then you can open up your mind to even more creativity. But this is what I love about like low budget and indie filmmaking, and even like porn, like the stuff that I do where it's really low budget, where it's just me and whatever I could scrape up. It lets you like your limitations of equipment. Your mind is just like all over the place, and you have all these ideas, and you're limited with equipment. So you have to like, it's like a give and take, and it's like a teeter-totter. It's like, okay, well, I'll give up this, but I'll get this.
Right.
And with you, it's like, you have. I mean, because like you were saying, like it's embarrassing to what you work with. That's like for any filmmaker or low budget, camera guy or lighting guy, they appreciate that so much. That's like when you and I talked about this before, was that like these are the things that are so important, because when people see that, like when people listen to this and people who are into like lighting, they're going to go and look at your stuff. They're going to be fucking amazed, and they're going to follow your stuff because they're like, holy shit, look what this guy can do with such minimal things. Like you were saying, like the light that you want is 80 some bucks, and that's a lot for you. There are fucking people throwing thousands of dollars into lights and still don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like in porn,
I swear to God, you're right.
dude,
You're right about that.
I've worked with so many people in porn that have so much equipment and a crew and still don't know what the hell they're doing. This is the only reason I got into adult. I shouldn't be on the scenes. I started seeing what these directors were doing, which is nothing. They didn't even know how to white balance a camera. I'm like, I'll shoot circles around these people. This is embarrassing. And and you get a lot of that where people just kind of fall into what they're doing, not because they love it or they have the passion for it, so they just kind of half-ass it. If you have the passion for it, it doesn't matter. Like I don't care if I work, 2 straight. Well, now I have to, because when I used to work like 2-3 straight days, my leg almost fell off. But but it's this passion of like buying these little things to like, okay, I'm going to do this with that. So I popped the 5 hours, so I'm like, I fucking just like all this ranting about lighting because I love lighting so much. When years ago, about close to like 10 years ago, I guess, I wanted to use a ring light, but there was no such thing as ring lights out, like unless you spend like thousands of dollars on a big one that you put on the tripod. So what I did was I went to Fry's, which I don't know if you guys have a Fry's. It's a like, big electronics store.
Yeah.
And what I bought at Fry's is they used to sell. It was like a clip-on light with like this metal bar, that like bendable bar, and it had a magnifying glass in the middle and it had a light around it. So it was like maybe it was done for like artists or maybe like people who work with miniatures or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what I did, I bought that fucking thing and I popped the glass out of it, and then what I would do is then I had like a little handle for whatever camera I was using, so I would clip on that clip to the handle, and then put the ring light over the lens. So it didn't dim because it was just like on and off, and then it was also had a plug connected to it. So then I would just like clip it to my side, and then had a extension cord attached to me, and I got my ring light shots. And people were like, how the fuck? Like people were just shocked like that porn looked like that. And they were confused. Now everybody and their mother uses a ring light. Every webcam girl is like a fucking ring light aficionado because they went and spent like $70 on Amazon, and now they have these beautiful images. But when you don't have those options or that money or that equipment available to you, you have to create your own way of lighting and get what you want. I made a ring light years ago, and I made a fucking black light ring light. And it took me like a bunch of rolls of electrical tape and PVC pipe, and I taped light bulb sockets to it. So I had like 6 of them, and I had like all these cables running down the side, and I put black light bulbs in it, and it looked amazing.
That's cool.
Like I've still never seen anybody do a black light ring light. But when I see like people using black light now, I'm like, man, I did that shit 7 years ago. Fuck you. You get a little bitter. You look the bitter old man, like, I did this so long. Kids these days, they don't appreciate nothing. All of a sudden, I became Danny Trejo there for a second.
Yeah, you did.
What the fuck? I can't even speak Spanish. I know only two sentences. Yo quiero Taco Bell and tu madre muy buena en la cama. Those are the only two.
Oh, yeah.
It depends.
Necessary
That's it. That's all I know, man. I failed Spanish too, man. I failed Spanish too, not because it was my fault. The very intelligent young Indian girl next to me wouldn't let me copy off her test. And whose fault is that? First test, I look over, she looks at me, puts her arm over her paper. I'm like, seriously? You're an asshole.
Damn.
And I failed.
Right.
6 weeks of class left. The teacher comes up to me, and the teacher goes, if you get straight A's through all your quizzes, tests, and homeworks, you'll still fail the class. I'm like, cool. Never showed up again.
Wow.
I was like, I'm not good. I was a senior. It was sixth period. I'm like, I'm going home. I don't care. I didn't need it to graduate, so I was good. Man, that was like a long tangent. But yeah, like your lighting, that's the part that is so amazing. Like when we did our stupid Lego thing, we just turned on, like we just had a couple of lights and we just flooded the area. But your stuff is like, man. So what kind of lens do you use when you're shooting with your Nikon? Because that's some specific shit that you're shooting. I get. Do you try to play with the different f-stops or whatever to like get different depths of field for depending on your set that you build?
Yeah. When I first started, I used to shoot everything at 5.6. Mm-hmm. But lately, I've been shooting in the teens and in the 20s, mm-hmm. and then just putting my ISO like really low, and then just shooting maybe like 5 or 6, and then stopping back up or down, and just trying out what works best. And now I actually have like a screen that's not 1 inch by 1 inch. It's like 3 inches by 3 inches. I can actually see what I'm doing, kind of.
Right.
And then so I'll just shoot, and then I'll pick, I'll put them on the computer and I'll pick the best ones and I'll mess with them. And but if I don't get the lighting in camera like the first time, then I'll just keep shooting, because that's my favorite part. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I feel like you can emote more with the lighting. Some things just they want to be black and white. Some things want to be color. Some things want to have high contrast. Some stuff wants to be blown out. But like especially like when I'm shooting off-road vehicles outside,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll make them a little bit darker, because I want you to concentrate on the ground. Also, I don't know if you noticed that you can see a lot of rocks and the details in the rock. I want you to see that too, not the car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, using the rule of thirds, I try to drag your eye all over the place, but focusing mainly on the car, and then you kind of look around at the rest of it. I did a lot of reading too, and then, but I've always loved. We did a head count the other day. I think I have 15 cameras at the house. So I've always been into it, but I honestly think that digital photography helps people with low income and stuff like that. Like I've never had money to throw around, you know what I mean? So I had to choose my stuff, my projects very wisely. This has been great for me. It's been very liberating. And, and having the phone on my side, if I can't get it with the camera, I'll do it with the phone, and I have much more access to getting my idea across. And I'll be honest with you, man, like, it just started off as a project. I was just documenting my toys. That's it. I have a lot, and I just wanted to kind of just use them. I didn't even know this was a subculture. None of it. Like super niche, man, super. And then I fell in with a couple people that were super nice, and they helped me out, and we've been friends. We've been internet friends for a long time, and I think it's over 10 years now. And like I said, it was like a combination. It was like a storm of all these things that happened that gave me the chance to do all this work. Because before, I have notebooks on my shelf of stuff that I used to draw while I was at work. I always had like 2 or 3 jobs at once. People kind of gloss over it, like the fine details of everyday life, and I'm kind of like here to make you look at the little things. Like, I can't even tell you how many people send me beat up old 4x4 pictures, like, oh, I saw this and I thought of you, or, oh, hey, check out this thing, and you know what I mean? Like, people are like I'm actually rubbing off on people, is what I'm saying. They're like, look at these tires, or, hey, do you think you could paint something like that? So it's a little project turned into something, I don't know, super cool. And even that, somebody who, like you, especially, you're into it now, which is cool, right?
Yeah, that was the whole thing. It was just like, I was like, when I started looking at your pictures, because you and I talked about this. I didn't follow you for a while. I was just looking at your pictures. I'm like, I'm gonna follow this dude, and then we just started talking. And I was like, man, there's more to you than just like, here's some pictures of like me being a nerd with little cars. There's like whole art to it, and it's impressive because lighting. Yeah, set is hard when you're trying to be artsy and creative, but then you're like lighting and doing like such small miniatures. And like you were talking about earlier about you like people to see the rocks in the foreground. Yeah, that's the whole thing, is like a lot of people I think don't get that you're creating a whole environment for that each individual car. It's not like like you're just taking here's a picture of the car I did on the white, backdrop. No, you're creating a whole environment and a whole story per car, and that's fucking cool. And this is what like I really enjoy about it. That's what like that whole thing with the snow stuck out to me. And then when you depending on the car, it's like it's on the road, or it's here, or it's like in the little city, or whatever it may be. And so each car has its own life to it, and that's the part that's so badass. It's not just like, here I did something, here's it is on the white, and that's it. You actually, it's not just about the car, it's about the whole image that you share, and that's pretty badass.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's supposed to be like all encompassing. You know, like you got cool lighting, you get cool details, you get a cool looking car. You don't know if it's real, you don't know if it's fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The sky in Virginia is really nice. So a lot of the sky photos come out really cool. But I'm running out of locations, man. Like, especially here, there's a lot of construction now, and there's stuff in the background sometimes that kind of distracts. So finding like a nice open area is super hard now. So I haven't been taking a lot of. I've been having to make more backdrops than anything, or make environments. And, you know, it's crazy. But you know, if you get a lot of pollution in the background, it kind of takes away, because it throws. Basically, what I'm saying is that it throws the scale off too. Right. You know, because you don't know how big this car is. You know, it's just in an environment where it's kind of like, well, I don't know. Is it big? Is it small? You know what I mean? So it leaves it all up to you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's exactly it. Now, have you? I mean, I don't know. Have you thought about like getting like a super wide angle lens where the car is like pretty big in the foreground? Because I was just thinking about that, like you were talking about the environment and all that stuff. Like, man, not a fisheye, because fisheye is just way too much. But something that's, I don't know if your camera is full frame. I think you would need like a full frame camera with a super like wide lens to do something like really cool, where, because you have to get really close and it has to be sharp and, you know, and things like that. And but man, it would be so cool to do things like that, where you could because what popped in my head is like you were talking about, like you're running out of locations. Let's say you were like in LA and you're taking pictures of the car, with the car in the foreground, and you see the palm trees behind it. Would be so badass.
Yeah, oh my God.
You know, like.
Well, this you just brought up another thing that I want to say real quick, was that so my next project is going to be, I want to write a book. Since I got a computer now, I've got the camera, and I'm thinking about taking a trip out to Cali anyways. I've got people up there, I've got people in Seattle, and then I think I would just basically fly into Seattle and then just drive back to Virginia. You know, I've got to go to Texas, I've got to go to Albuquerque, New Mexico, I've got to go to Georgia, I've got to go to Florida. I wanted to swing by Tennessee, though, to go to the Country Music Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. So I kind of want to write this book, and I need background. Basically, is what I'm going to take, like a suitcase full of customs, and probably like a lunchbox full of toys, and just go shoot out in the middle of nowhere. You know?
Hell yeah, man! Can you imagine doing something cool like that in Vegas, with like right in front of the Vegas sign?
Oh wow, man. Yeah,
like really cool stuff. Now, is it going to be like a picture book with images of yours, or are you talking about like writing actual story, or what would the book be about?
Yeah, I'm going to do both. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to do both.
Have you thought about like even doing your own coffee table book? Because you could go to like there's like so many websites that it doesn't cost you anything. You go, you upload your images, and you design the book, and then you create a store, and you buy your own book, so you have it. But then like you could also promote it, and then people will buy the book.
Yeah, I saw that on. I sent my stuff to Nation's Photo Lab here in New York, and they started offering something. They sent me an email, and they started offering something like that. Yeah. And it's pretty cheap. I think it comes out to like less than $6 or $7 a book.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, and it's beautiful. It's like you know, hardcover, super glossy pages. I don't know. That's a good idea. I don't know.
Yeah, like blurb.com does the same thing. You create a store, you design your books, and then people could go and buy it. It costs you literally nothing. And then if you want your own book, you just buy it off the store. And same thing. The books come out to like individually. If you're buying them, they're like $10, $12. And you know, obviously you pick out how many pages you want, how big the image is, whatever the captions are. It's pretty fucking amazing with technology. So and you have some cool shit. So like I would just do it like, I mean, it sounds like you're busy, but if you had some free time, just like to check out websites like that and screw it, like make a book and, you know, promote it. And if one person buys it, awesome. If nobody buys it, it sucks. If 100 people buy it, fantastic, you know, and just kind of go with it, because hey, you never know, man. Like, right? You never know who's going to see it, when and how and why and what their connections are and how they can help you. So, but this is the beauty of your like doing your own stuff, is that it's not work. It's the love of doing it. And like that's what to me is like I could never do anything but what I do, just because it's not work. It's like I get to create. And that same thing with you. Like you spend like, you're saying like 25 hours to do one car sometimes. And, you know, like the people are like, that's insane. But no, it's not. It's because you love it. So the time goes by so fast. And sometimes when I'm editing something really cool, I'll look up, I'm like, oh shit, it's like nighttime already. And because you're just in the zone doing what you're doing. Same with like, you know, on sets and whatever else. So yeah, I think it'd be a cool idea to do like a book. I'll buy the book, shit. Especially if there's a whole hunter's car in there. Mine, all mine.
Well, you know, like I said, it's been, you know, it's all love, man. It's all love for the craft, man. Like I said, one thing kind of propelled me into doing the other thing, which propelled me into doing the other thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't do anything half-assed. It's got to be all or nothing, you know. But it's been rewarding in the fact that I've met a lot of cool people. I've seen a lot of cool things. That's another thing too, man. I get boxes of fucking cars in the mail now. I get from my fans and stuff, which is cool. That means a lot.
That's great.
People send me, they go out of their way to send me these. They're called rock boxes. They're RAOK, Random Acts of Kindness.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking at it. I got like 2 right now. There's like 20 pounds of cars in there. I'm just like, I gotta start sending out some photos and thank yous and stuff like that. And
that's so cool.
It is. It's really nice. And a lot of people, these customizers, they're not in it for the money either. They just make these really cool things and then they just like give them away.
Right.
Pretty fantastic, you know.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Well, it's God's day, so we all have to go talk to God. It's Sunday, so we probably should cut this off.
Yeah, I gotta go to the store. Yeah, you're right. Sure.
This was awesome, man. Like, just the stuff you do is so fantastic, and I'm glad, like, you know, we got to talk about it and share with whoever's gonna listen to this. To talk about again, like where people could find you, like, you know, your Instagram, because I found you on Instagram and you're a couple other places, and we'll be done. And then people are going to go and look at your cars and hopefully send you more cars.
Yeah, because I'll send you a photo later because I don't need it anymore. But anyway, so basically I'm on Instagram, Reverend Roberto Art. And then anything, the hashtag the Lab Winchester, that's my studio. You could do that on Facebook. But anyway, you know, that's how you find me, basically. Okay. But I've got that hashtag on lockdown. And
you need to start doing videos of what you're doing, because I know you said, like, because I think that it'll filmmakers and people who do miniatures are going to eat your stuff up. So really consider that, because that's really badass.
You can come up with my weight.
What?
Oh, man, no, I just appreciate it, man. Thanks for the chance to be able to do this, man, because, like I said, you know, sometimes you feel like nobody's watching, you know?
Look,
you feel like you're on an island. Now, before this, even, I'm saying.
No, you know, but that's the thing is, like, I sometimes feel that way, and then out of the blue, somebody would DM me, and a lot of people who reach out to me, they say they don't comment, but they just follow. When I was going through my stuff and kind of still going through it, I still get so many messages, people going, I love your work, I love the message, I love your kindness or whatever else, and I don't comment, but I'm following your journey and your artwork and stuff like that. So there's a lot of people that are silent, that don't want to reach out for whatever reason, but they're there, you know, and especially when you put so much love into what you do, people appreciate it. And you would hope they would reach out and say something, you know, and but no, your stuff is fantastic. So I appreciate you sharing it with us, and we're going to be doing whole hunter cars pretty soon together. So
yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for giving me the chance to just even kind of talk about it. You know, even before this self-quarantine thing, sometimes I wouldn't even leave my basement for like a month because I would just work.
Yeah.
You know?
So you see, the quarantine hasn't affected you. It hasn't affected me.
No, not at all. You know, this is old hat, man. You know, to me, I don't people that much anyway. So.
Yeah, there you go. Same. All right, Roberto. We'll talk soon, and yeah, I appreciate you doing this.
Thanks, brother, man.
Thanks.
Stay out of trouble. Watch your leg, please.
My leg's been hurting today, actually. I don't know why, but it's been hurting today. So time to go lay down.
Take care of yourself.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, brother. Bye.
Bye.
Pussy in your face with style and grace. A wreck where he direct got flair and taste. Holds no drop crowd when he in the mix. In a throwback jersey and custom kicks. Home to man respect, cause respect he get. Scorsese with some motherfucking ass and tits. Now what's his name? I am Slivan.com. Got brunettes and blondes that'll lick your shit from dusk to dawn. Turn your magic stick to the magic wand. When the camera's on, he's about his craft. With a roadside killer, got an evil laugh. And the killer clowns, all they want they mannequin back. Step up in his office, catch a panic attack. From all flicks to thrillers, the bitches ready you willing. When they light the marquee, who's name's top villain? Cause I am what I am, do what I do, done what I've done. I am Marvin.com. Cause he is what he is, you are what you are. You live how you live, just thinking that's how it is. Cause I am what I am, do what I do, done what I've done. I am Marvin.com. Cause he is how he is, you are how you are. You live how you live, just thinking that's how it is. Or drive the avian, take a flight first class. Cause we mile high clubbing with a piece of ass. Filming every minute, this is off the chain. Here with Samuel L, got my snake on planes. What's his name? I am Slivan.com. Film your sis and moms. Roll the Tahoe, let the system hit. Catch a glance of an icon through window tints. And a violet came up, this cat you gotta hold. Got your hand on a motherfucking piece of gold. When the camera roll, talk total control. Holes a asshole shown fully exposed. Make 'em hit the flow, ass cocked and pose. Rock and roll, film locked and load. Cutting edge and different, gifted and analytic. Destined to change the game, he's his own worst critic. Cause I am what I am, do what I do, done what I've done. I am Marvin.com. Cause he is what he is, you are what you are. You live how you live, just thinking that's how it is. Cause I am what I am, do what I do, done what I've done. I am Marvin.com. Cause he is how he is, you are how you are. You live how you live, just thinking that's how it is. You got it, you want it, you need it. I am Marvin, you love it, you own it, believe it. I am Marvin.com. You got it, you want it, you need it. I am Marvin, you love it, you own it, believe it. I am Marvin.com. Cause I am what I am, do what I do, done what I've done. I am Marvin.com. Cause he is what he is, you are what you are. You live how you live, just thinking that's how it is. Cause I am what I am,